You are about to listen to the Neverdaily podcast.
This is the biggest thing since the Zapruder film.
So many questions.
I don't have any answers.
But please don't stop listening
to the Neverdaily podcast.
I just want to go on record really quick that my ideas, you guys all look me in the eye and you think my ideas are so stupid. And when we're not recording, you guys are like, I'll be like, here's a great idea. And just so everybody that's just listening and can't see us knows, everyone looks at me like I'm the drunkle at a wedding,
right?
Who can't stop touching all of the bridesmaids.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I know that sometime down the road, you're all going to be the drunkle. And I'm going to have the same dumb look on my face that all you dummies have. Because the ideas that what?
Are you crying?
Little. Yeah, little, but you'll be crying is what I'm getting at, is you'll be crying because I know that my ideas are going to catapult us past the space-sphere, and you will be like reaping from the benefits of me trying to compete and try to surpass everything that Kent brings to the show with my dumb ideas that you think are dumb, but they will, one or two of them will probably work out. And they'll become so good that they'll be part of the success of 1159. And then the scripts will be flipped and you will be the ones going, this is the greatest. And you'll be the drunkle and I'll be looking at you like you can't even take credit for this.
Okay. So two things.
Yeah.
First off, I didn't even shoot down your stupid fucking idea.
Remember how you didn't say a thing?
It was Jess and Chase that shot down your stupid fucking idea. And second off, this feels oddly like, you remember when you were kids and you would be out, I don't know, building a dam in a creek or whatever, and that one kid that always had the Andy that always had shit, he's like, I have good ideas too. And you're like, shut up, Andy. Like, no, your ideas are stupid. We're making a dam, Andy. We're not making a moat. We don't even have access to sharks. Like, I've got good ideas. That's what
we never had an Andy in my group.
That means you were the Andy.
I just wanted to put that on record that you guys are all going to rue the day that you thought my ideas were dumb.
I just want to put on record that we won't.
Our 1159 will either be fueled to new heights by its racial attempts to bridge racial divides, or it will go down in history as one of the biggest attempts at bridging racial divides by using what society deems as racist efforts. And it's going to be one of those two. It's
right.
Binary, 50-50. But I'm wagering that it's going to be the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Catapulting to new heights.
I'm excited to get back to the machine shop, because that's where I'm headed right after that show comes out.
It's going to be amazing because I wrote it all down this time. Yes, it feels a little like I have a secret copy of a personal diary like Mein Kampf sitting in my bedroom right now, but with context, it'll mean something. And everybody will realize this isn't racist at all. This bridges the divide.
And what we're talking about right now is Tolkien Black Friend and
my great ideas about it. I keep talking about it. You know what's happening right now though? Have you ever had that one of those intimate moments where you think as a man, you're thinking, man, I'm doing really good at foreplay. And then you got kind of sucked into foreplay and you're
Hold on. What?
Still, you know how you get like, sometimes you're like, man, I'm doing really good. Like the responses are all what you think they should be and everything. You're doing.
I've never felt like that at
foreplay
any point
stuff.
during sex ever.
This is foreplay. It's not sex. It's foreplay. And you're like doing the foreplay stuff and you're like, man, I'm doing really good because the responses seem to be favorable and everything. And then you're like thinking, man, I'm a pro. And then suddenly they stop you dead in your tracks and you're like, are we going to do this? Like you went, you
I have
were
bad news for you. That's
foreplaying.
because she's thinking, I've got meat thawing in the in the sink right now, and I've got this guy's taking forever.
Yeah, you're deceived into thinking that that scene in Top Gun where it's just silhouettes of people like French kissing.
Yeah.
And you're like, take my breath away. You're like into like verse 2 of the song.
Right.
And they were like, this has gone on for one too many verses. That's how I feel like I've been taunting Tolkien Black Friend. I either have to crap or get off the pot soon.
Yeah.
I can't be talking about it anymore because everybody's like, I'm going to climax before it even comes out.
Right.
I feel like that's kind of what I'm doing here. So I'm going to have to, what do they say? Cut fish or cut bait?
You're like, yeah, you like the way I rub your clit. And she's like, that's my butthole.
You're like, I have never touched a prolapsed butthole. I'm sorry. Didn't know that it looks like a glazed donut.
What? A prolapse? What? A prolapsed asshole does not look like a glazed donut. It looks.
Let me give you a little Google image. Now I'm not going to even make you do anything scary. Google image strawberry glazed donut.
Okay.
Do it.
Strawberry.
And now, in particular, if you want to get dialed in, you're going to see some shiny ones that are really smooth.
Oh, wow. It does look like a strawberry glazed donut.
If you go for the ones what are the ones that are like more natural too? They're like bumpy and not the Krispy Kreme shiny ones. Like, what do you call that donut? Traditional, not cake. Oh, cake donut.
Yeah.
Strawberry glazed cake donut. And here's the thing is all of you have a face like when I was talking about my Tolkien Black Friend ideas.
Hey,
but
I'm going to Google prolapsed asshole and then pull it up on the screen here so you guys can.
But I can see the reflection in each of your eyes. Each one of you did the donut search. I can see it in your eyes. You each did it, suckers. And now, but I'm right? And so just take that bit of knowledge and then extend that into my ideas on other topics like racial divide and know that.
So I Googled prolapsed asshole. Let me share my screen here.
No, don't do it.
And
stop it. Fun. Ellen DeGeneres. That's so weird. Just a bunch of pictures of Ellen DeGeneres. Why did she go from looking like a human to looking like that robot off of Star Trek? You know the one I'm talking, the pale.
I never have seen Star Trek, but I'm sure you have.
His name is Data, I think. Data. She looks like she just started turning into Data from Star Trek.
Data, Star Trek.
Yeah, pull up Data from Star Trek.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right? Same dead eyes, like those really pretty, beautiful, like dead blue eyes. I wonder if that's what you start getting, those dead eyes when you move on from abusing children in your house to asking painters to come and paint the scene of you abusing children. I think that's when those dead eyes start showing up.
Data looks
Take my breath away. Painter, paint me in the silhouette.
Anyway, how have you been, Op?
I've been pretty good. This happened. I think I might have already talked about it, but I did like this a while back. Well, actually a week ago, I had some tests done to see if my meds were conflicting with each other and stuff. And not only the meds, but have you ever had this happen where you have like a doctor that you go to, what do they call them? GPs, general practitioner or whatever. You know, it's your normal doctor, your neighborhood doctor. And then you're like, I'm going to go to this guy. And so you go to another doctor and you forget to tell that doctor about the other doctor's prescriptions. And so before you know it, you're like, maybe I should sync this up so that that doctor knows that that doctor prescribed me Prozac and this doctor's got me on something else. I don't even know if these things conflict. So I did this thing to see if they conflict and stuff. And between like vitamins, supplements, and just like my couple prescription things, one for, I don't know if you guys know, but I have Hashimoto's disease.
Yeah, you've reminded us.
Okay, I have a disease, guys.
Yeah.
So I just take a little tiny pill for that. And then some supplements for that. Some vitamins. And then ADHD, which is my most recent kind of flavor of the month, which is fun. And then I was taking Prozac for depression that I had, that a doctor had said you're depressed, and that was years ago. So I just been kind of kicking through Prozac, and then I realized like all of the things I'm taking, there's like 9, including supplements and vitamins and extra B3 and if methylated this or whatever. I cut it all out. Except for my ADHD medicine and my thyroid, little tiny thyroid pill. And I feel no. I was about to say I feel great, and I think that would be a misnomer. I feel no different. I think it's the best way to put it. After a week, I feel no different. And I know there's going to be people out there that are like, oh, some of those meds you cut out, those are like 2 weekers where you got to like be on it for 2 weeks before you feel the effects. So same thing on the other end. You phase it out. You got to wait 2 weeks before you feel the negative effects of being off of it. And that may be true. I feel fine.
Okay.
To answer your question.
Yeah. Goddamn, did you? You did.
I have a question for you.
What
did you do? So we'll title this section Kentucky Triage, because that's what your house has become. No one knows it, but you have literally your own season of the show ER happening in your house.
Before we go to that,
Okay.
I do want you to know that I care about how you feel. So, and you have been having issues with, do you think maybe you're depressed and you don't realize it?
Well, I've done a lot of reading on depression, and yeah, I would say, well, you don't just do you don't research, write, record, and then go to bed every day for 2 hours. And the only thing that gets you out of bed is a soul crushing sense of obligation. You don't do that pattern without being depressed. Like something inside of me, like there's a chemical imbalance, some mental flip switched, whatever. I'm working through it. What's also weird to me about it is there's been times in my life where I feel like I'm on the precipice of something very amazing in life.
Yeah.
And I've talked about being spiritual and stuff, but I do think this happens from time to time. Like in my life, I feel like God's like, you have the capabilities to do whatever you want to do, go do it. And I'm like, okay. And he doesn't say that directly because like that would be creepy. But I feel like I have the talent to do anything that I want to do. And so I feel like there are times where I'm lining things up, or the effort of putting all things in line culminate or are leading towards something great. And what's interesting is right before I feel like I've hit that peak of the great, where I or everybody starts benefiting from like the massive effort that's culminated to that moment. Right before it, I feel like the devil is like, I can't have this happen. I can't let you make that. I can't allow. And so there's sort of an otherworldly pressure that comes in one way or another. You know, some tragedy happens. In this case, I think it's sort of like more internal this time than like other times in my life where life has hit me really hard. And it's like, I'll distract you enough that you can't pull this off. But this time I feel like it's a little more physical. Like I'm right there. For example, we've been trying to get Neverdaily show public for weeks. And I am literally the linchpin on why that hasn't happened. But if you get a show like Neverdaily out there, it's got 4 seasons. We all benefit from that. And so everybody would be like, what the heck? Just do it. But the just do it part is like, you got 2 hours. I could explain the just do it part, you know?
Yeah.
But then multiply that by like 6. And those are all the great things that are like right on the, like it's the Tesla car that's made it all the way to the other end of the factory. And then the last step is just get it to a lot and it'll sell. And I'm like, right, I'm going to take a nap. And so, you know, the Tesla cars just keep piling up at the end of and I'm not saying I'm just saying I know I'm the choke point on a lot of these things. And I feel like 1159 is at another precipice. We're in the death zone and I keep falling asleep in the death zone.
You got, what is it? Narcolepsy? Is that what it's called?
Every day I start out going, there's the peak.
It's like all you've got to do is land the plane, but you can't stay awake.
Exactly. But I see the peak and I start the day and I'm like, I'm going to make the peak. We're going to take some pictures. Everybody's going to see that 1159 made it to the top. We're going to stamp our name on the top of the mountain. And then like 13 seconds later, I'm like, or maybe I'll just become Green Boots. And I'll just become like a mile marker along the way to the peak and I'll be frozen into the side of the mountain. I don't know.
That well, I think a more apt analogy would be you're leading us to the top of Everest. We're following you and there's this just blinding snow drifts and we're all tethered to each other and you're leading and like we can see the top and we're like, we're almost there. And then we look and we hear.
Exactly. Or you're
just
look up
laying
and like,
in
I'm
the snow.
That's exactly it. But I'm trying to be self-aware and I realize that I'm either asleep or there might be times where I'm like, I'm not boss material. We all know this. And I struggled whether or not I'm even leader material. So I know there are times where you guys look up and I'm awake, but you're like, are you on Amazon? Are you shopping on your phone? And my response is, there's a great signal up here. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I'm such a raccoon. But we'll be fine, guys.
And what's fucked up is you're on Amazon buying core drills
and tripwire.
Knowing it's just going to sit in a box on your shelf until 2 years from now you sell it at 25% the price you gave for it and never opened it.
It's so true. There are a lot. It's bad when I buy so much stuff that our listeners start benefiting from the deep discounts.
How many times did you use that bike that you sold to Hyatt Homestead?
1.5.
Yeah. Was the halftime you seeing how nicely it worked on that machine that you put it on so that it wouldn't work outside?
And that machine is still sitting upstairs on set for sale online, which it's not going to sell because it's summer and everybody puts their wheels on their bike in the summer. Nobody wants an internal internal exercise bike.
And not
So
only
I
that,
got
but nobody wants to
into
pay the shipping on that motherfucker.
that. It's heavy. Yeah, and the retail was like $1,500 on the trainer itself. Jessica Friswell in the back door access says, can you buy a tonal and then sell it to me? Jessica, I have a crazy story for
Here's
you.
the thing. Here's the crazy thing. Has 2 of them on a shelf right now that are unopened.
You don't understand how close to accurate you are. I go to my brother's house. Now, remember, my brother Jake literally works in space. He works for planet.com. That's a domain name that, boy, I'd wish I'd bought, because we'd all be millionaires right now if I'd bought planet.com. He works for them.
Well,
so he works
we
in
would be
space all day long.
millionaires. You would just have a lot of stuff on shelves.
It's true. But he's like me. He's a gearhead. But the difference between him and I is he uses everything he buys. You go into his room. He's got get this. He's got a whole bed next to his bed, like a tanning bed, like you'd see a tanning bed. But it's not a tanning bed. The whole thing above you is infrared lights. Like he's on another level. Like he's on the evil scientist living on his own danger island level. I go in, he's got a tonal on the wall. If you don't know what a tonal is, imagine a flat screen TV that you turn vertically so it's tall. And a person shows up on the screen like, let's work out. And attached to the sides of the tonal are a whole gym. But it's basically like a couple cables. And the tonal itself is electronically resisting. So based on the resistance of the program, where it's at in the program for that day, and the guy's, it's a real guy, and he's like, let's get your arms up, do the thing, and lift them up. And you set the weight and everything. It's a complete robot, but it's the size of a flat screen TV, and they're like $5,000. Yeah. I saw it. I brought my wife in, she saw it, and she's like, that's crazy. We could get rid of so much stuff at our house. She made the mistake of saying we could ... I was like, done. And I started looking into them, and they're $5,000. So I was like, I don't know. So I started looking into used ones, and then I was like, okay, used ones are about, you can get a used one for $2,000. They don't keep their value very long, because it's like a treadmill. Everyone buys one, and then it's just a paperweight for a lot of paper. So I went back to see maybe the buy it with a firm, to pay payments. And I was like, I don't know. And then I Googled it, and I'm glad I did, because anyone that's looking at a tonal should know this. If you buy a used tonal bricks the whole thing. Like, they don't want them resold. So if you buy a used tonal and you try to use the software on it and everything, tonal's like, nah. So they'll charge you like $600 to just buy basically your own license to use the software on it, if you can even get them to do it. So, Jessica, you don't want to buy a used tonal from me. Also, I haven't bought one yet.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What is wrong with dumbbells? Why can't we why do we have to do this as a society?
Have you seen the dumbbells that have the dial on it, so when you pick it up, it's a different weight?
Why can't we just lift why can't we just lift weights? I mean, it's like, why do we have to put computers and like, what's wrong with just going to the gym and lifting weights? It's like such a better experience than looking at us. We're always looking in screens, tablets, and phones. Do we really need to put a fucking giant tablet in front of us while we're working out too? We're getting so close to the movie WALL-E.
Yeah.
Where like half the fun, I'm a lard ass now, but whenever I wasn't a lard ass, like, I liked the whole experience. It's like going to the theater to see a movie. Like, yeah, you can watch a movie at home, but it's like, I liked the process of taking my pre-workout, getting ready, going to the gym, and being there specifically for that reason, to lift weights. and then coming home. Why do we need to do this? Why are we doing this? What's wrong with dumbbells? Dumbbells have been tried and true for I don't know how many years now. They're simple. It's just a forged piece of steel. You don't need computer chips, any of that bullshit. Like, why are we doing this? What are we doing here?
Dumbbells are about $1 a pound, and
they
that's
are
one
about
thing
$1 a pound.
And so it can get pricey to buy.
It can get pricey. How much was the tonal?
$5,000.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you make a good point when you just said that. Also, if you think going to the gym after prepping and everything like that's fun, you should try what I do, which is you take pre-workout and then you get distracted and you don't go to the gym.
Yeah, and you fall asleep.
Your body feels
most
like
vivid nightmares ever because you just went to sleep on NO Explode.
Yeah. And that stuff's illegal. It's hard to find anymore, but I still find NO Explode, by the way.
At 36 years old, whenever I do start going back to the gym, I won't be doing pre-workout anymore. That's for young men. Pre-workout is a young man's game.
Or
it's gambling at my age and certainly your age.
You want to see a fun thing? I should live stream my Amazon shopping cart when I'm on pre-workout. It's a trip. It's a total trip. What's that movie where Nicolas Cage, his head starts on fire? Head starts on fire and he's the skeleton on a motorcycle?
That's Ghost Rider.
That's what happens to me about 10 minutes after taking pre-workout, and I get distracted, and then I'm in my studio sitting there. My body just explodes into fire skeleton.
You're writing 9 new podcasts.
It's more like I buy 9 new
you've got 6
names
on the burner that need edited.
Nothing I'm supposed to do gets done. But I will write 12 racially charged scripts for a future podcast that doesn't exist. And it's genius.
And will never get made.
But I kind of feel like Tesla in the regard where, like, I just hope it's like Tesla, where you know how they were like, did you know that the majority of Tesla's genius ideas were either stolen, hidden, discarded? Like the major genius that was Tesla, we don't even know because it's never seen the light of day. I'm hoping that that's what all of my stupid efforts become. Like when I die, people are like, oh my gosh, check out all these racially charged scripts that never saw the light of day. We should do something with them. The
difference in you and 1159 Media and Tesla is that 1159 Media isn't funded by blood money from diamond mines and nothing.
Well, I meant Nikola Tesla, like, you know, when he.
Oh, you mean Tesla, like Nikola,
the actual legit genius.
Oh, okay,
I'm comparing myself to a genius is what I'm doing right now, and that seems a little more appropriate than me comparing myself to a car company.
Okay.
You know what? Let's move on. So, Kent, if you want, I mean, if there's something else you want to talk about, but I was going to talk about the doctorate that you have generated in your house to take care of. Basically, it's World War Animal is what I would call it. World War Animal has kicked off in your house, and you have a problem.
Yeah, it seems everything in my house is fucking except for me. So,
ew. That fun.
So it's good I pay that mortgage. Kind of feel ripped off a little bit, to be honest. I have 2 axolotls and they did sex and she had eggs, and now I went from 2 axolotls to 75 axolotls.
Oh.
And here's the thing. I saw the eggs in the tank, and what I could have done was flush them down the toilet and be done with it. It would have been like 73 abortions all at one time, right? Just 73 abortions. And I would be free and clear of so much free time right now. But what I did was one by one took those eggs out of the tank, which took hours, put them into a new tank, and then sat on them like a mama hen for a month. And I don't know why I was shocked when they started hatching. And I was like, they started hatching, and I was like, oh no, what am I going to do now? And I am proud of the fact I read online that the hatch rate of axolotl eggs, like a mother axolotl will lay between like 500 and 1,500 eggs in a clutch.
Oh,
And usually like between a third and a half of those will hatch, right? And I got a total of 78 eggs, and 73 of them hatched.
oh, man.
I had almost 100% hatch rate. That's how much I set on these eggs, like a mama hen. And now I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do, because I panicked. I guess in the back of my head, they weren't ever going to actually hatch. It was like, this isn't going to actually work, because axolotls, when they're full grown, are hard to take care of. Like, there's no way that I'll be able to provide the right conditions to hatch eggs and bring them to fruition. And I accidentally did.
See, and that's the drama that I'm talking about here. You literally, you're creating episodes of House or ER, because the camera is focused on your face, and the beads of sweat are coming down your forehead, and the knowledge that you possess, all your hands are just working off of muscle memory from what you learned in axolotl dental school.
Yeah.
And you're like, will this work? Will this work? And you're like trying to push them together, and you're like, can I do this? And the music's rising, and everybody's like, this is going to cut to commercial, and we're not going to know. And then you come back from commercial, and you're like patting your forehead in the corner, and you're like, oh. Somebody comes in there like, doctor, how did it go? You're like, we had 2 axolotls. And
only we had 73 axolotls.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, because on Saturday, I think it was Saturday, the first one hatched, and I was like, okay, that's probably all we're going to get. And then I wouldn't panic. I can deal with 1 axolotl. Sunday come along, I woke up that morning, went straight up to the office because I've got them right beside where I write research and everything, so that they're with arm's reach all the time. Because you also have to keep the eggs kind of, first off, the water has to have a air rock in it to keep the oxygen moving through the water. You have to watch
like
the
bubbler?
temperature. Yeah.
Okay.
And they can't be in direct sunlight, the eggs. There's a lot of, but also the eggs, because you got to worry about fungus growing on them, you have to keep them separated. So it's like really a constant like game to keep them. And then like Saturday I had 1. I was like, okay, I can deal with 1. I'm happy that I was able to just get 1 to life. But I woke up Sunday morning, ran straight up to the office to check on them. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to have to, but I had 16 Sunday morning. I was like, oh, okay. Well, we can deal with 16. Surely.
Wait, you woke up in the morning and everything had changed, like the latest fashion, or like the latest, like some spreading disease.
My
you
whole
woke
life
up in
had
the
changed.
morning.
Yes, 16. But it gets worse, because I woke up yesterday morning and I had 73. And when I looked in and saw that, I felt like it had to have been that moment when Oppenheimer saw what the bomb did to Hiroshima, right? Like, oh, what have I done? I'm destroyer of worlds. And then what's more frustrating is you have to keep the eggs and the babies in a separate tank. So I quickly had to set up another tank with another aerator and everything. And then one by one, take these little babies that are the size of an eraser head and pick them one by one out and put them in the other tank.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the gangs stake out their own campus locale, right? And you're like in charge of it all. If they catch you slipping, it's like over. because they can't stay together. You got to keep them separated.
Because you have to worry about funguses and everything because the eggs and it's just they're little gills that are on the side of their head that makes them so cute, that makes them look like little Pokemon. They're very sensitive to getting fungus and stuff that grows on them. So you have to constantly. That's like the sign of a healthy axolotl. Is all in their gills. That's
now,
where.
When they're that young, do their colors matter? If one guy's color and the others don't mix, do you have to keep them separated?
Are you talking about is there racial issues within the axolotl community?
Because we've talked about it before, and axolotls can be different colors, so
they don't give a fuck.
They're gonna bash it up.
They don't care. They don't care because both the mom and the dad are what's called leucistic, which means they're pink.
Oh,
probably most of them are also going to be leucistic.
Okay, but there's a possibility that some could be whatever the opposite of leucistic is.
Well, I've actually done a lot of. I've done so much reading on axolotl biology and genes and how they're passed on and everything with color variations and everything.
Yeah.
And it turns out that with axolotls, a lot of what colors that they'll have that their babies will be relies on their grandparents. And because I don't know what kind of grandparents that Bubblegum or Eddie, which is the mom and dad's name, I don't know what their grandparents were. We really don't know exactly what these, but probably I would say at least probably 75% of them will also be leucistic.
But if they have one that's a different, they have a baby and that baby comes out a different color, are they like, hey man, you're talking back to me? Are they instantly against that color, or do they all kind of just blend? Or do they take them out?
Blend in. The Bubblegum will just pretend like he didn't see it. Be like,
oh,
Eddie, so you whore.
But what Bubblegum doesn't know is that that's what the grandpa or grandma looked like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of work, and and then on top of that, you've got to raise their food as well. So when I had that first one hatch, I panicked and I was like, because I wasn't actually expecting them to hatch. And then I panicked and I went on Amazon and ordered a brine shrimp hatchery and had it speeded to the house because it's like, fuck, well, I've got to raise the food now.
You're literally you're genetic. You're like a mad scientist in your house.
Yeah.
And it's legal. It's creepy. You're like some Wuhan lab in Kentucky where you're generating your own, but it's all above board. If you're under 18.
I had the weirdest
and you were doing
thought,
that. You wouldn't
be
be doing
100% true on what you just said. And it came and went in my head for a minute, and then I quickly dismissed it. But what I started because axolotls are extinct in the wild. They only exist now in aquariums and houses. And axolotls only ever existed in the wild in one lake in Mexico. In the whole world, they were only in one lake in Mexico. And that's at the peak of their existence in the wild. Because that one lake in Mexico had the conditions and the parameters to meet their very strict guidelines for where they can survive.
So it was like an evolutionary limitation, and we found it, and we were like, Lake Mistake is no longer the only place these can.
Well, what happened?
We're going to make it
pollution, and some people argue global warming. It dried up, and their home was wrecked, so they went extinct. But you were talking about me being this mad scientist. I had a thought, and it came and went fast. But I thought, I wonder if I could dig a pond in my backyard. And if I put $1,000 into it to meet the very strict parameters of these things, could I make a pond that would breed axolotl life. And then the only place that axolotls exist in the wild, in the world, is in a redneck's backyard in Kentucky.
But then
I
did
actually
you
had
have
that thought.
did you have that thought, and then in your head you heard the guy from Jurassic Park say, we asked the question, could we do it?
Actually, the word that was going through the phrase that was going through my head was, well, I don't know, life finds a way. But I started doing the math on like, okay, how many chillers would I need for this to keep this water the right temperature, and like, and I would want them to exist naturally, right? So I'm like, well, how would I ensure that they had a food source? Because I don't want to have to invest in $150 of night crawlers a week to keep this. So like, I'm thinking like, where could I put it where there would be natural food sources, bugs and stuff under the trees? You know, maybe there would be stuff falling into it, bugs and worms and whatnot. And I was like doing the math in my head. I'm like, how can I make this happen? You know, something that people don't know about axolotls that's really cool is, and it's super rare, extremely rare. Like you've got a 1 in a million chance of it happening. But on a very rare occasion, they mutate and become land salamanders.
Really? So they that's like their evolutionary next step.
Yes.
Really?
Another cool fun fact about axolotls, they have limb regeneration. So if they lose an arm or a leg, they grow it back. Axolotls are super cool. Scientists are super interested in axolotls because they provide so much in terms of, like, they're trying to figure out limb regeneration. All that is studies done on axolotls.
Let me guess. You have to have come across this. Where does the axolotl sit as far as its ability or inability or resistance to cancer? Is that a thing? Like, are they like, these things don't get cancer either?
That's a good question. Actually, I've never came across a issue of axolotls getting cancer.
See?
I mean, they're little super mutants. They're super cool when you start learning about them. And on top of that, they're so fucking cute. They look like little Pokemon. And
who wouldn't want to study those is what I say.
They're so cool. They're so cool. And when they eat, they're like little alligators. Like Mo loves it whenever she always watches me feed Bubblegum and Eddie, and you have to feed them by hand. That's another thing that, like, you can't just, oh, here's your bowl of food, and then they eat as they want. No, it has to be, you have to feed them by hand. But and they eat night crawlers, and they do the death roll whenever they eat, where they just think they're fucking prehistoric monsters. And Mo loves it whenever I feed Eddie, because he does the thrashing when he gets his, and I do voices, and I go, yeah, you're a bad man, Eddie. You're a bad man, Bubblegum. Everybody's scared of you, buddy. Look at how mean he is. But he's just so cute. Those little puffy cheeks and his eyes. But he thinks he's an alligator. Bubblegum does. He's
so explain to. But I'm disturbed by this, that on a daily basis, I open my mouth and everybody's like, oh, that guy has a brain full of useless facts. Like, that's what he wastes all his time with. But Kent, what we're talking about here is the fact that you and I are the same animal. The only thing is, you don't let anybody know the rabbit holes you go down when you stop recording. So I want you to explain just really quick something that you mentioned to us before we started, something about the change in water, some chemical that gets released in the water when they eat, or what, something happens. You were talking, you remember?
So, and this is just when they're little, like they are now. And like I said, they eat, it's called amenia, which is baby brine shrimp, sea monkeys. And because they're so little, and also the amenia have to be raised in salt water, and these, as the babies, they live in fresh water. Amenia can only live in fresh water for like an hour and a half, 2 hours tops. So when you dump these thousands of amenia into the baby axolotl tank where they're at now, and they eat, obviously they can't eat all of it. These amenia die. And what happens is dead amenia spike the ammonia levels in the water quickly, like super quick to dangerous levels. And because of that, and you have to feed them twice a day, you have to do a 100% water change every time you feed baby axolotls. So it's time consuming. You feed them twice a day, and then you have to change the water. So which means when you've got 73 of them, you have to one by one, so I've got is two little 10-gallon tanks. You have to one by one, you have to put fresh water in the other tank and then take them out one by one and put them twice a day. The end.
That's cr-
My God, he did it. Crazy son of a bitch did it. And that's how Mo looked at me whenever they started hatching. The way Jeff Goldblum looks.
You have a problem on your hands. And I know you won't. I'd like to say this is the only one, but you're a quiet rabbit holer. Like your head is full of knowledge on things where people are like, wow, that's op level knowledge on something but you just don't talk about it.
Well, that's because nobody really wants to hear about axolotls for 3 hours.
See, that's the difference between you and me is like I pretend like the audience is a catatonic patient and I have to feed them mashed potatoes, and I don't care if they want them. They're eating mashed potatoes. Damn it.
What's annoying about this to me is I never wanted an axolotl in the first place. My daughter saw one on Minecraft. And because she got an axolotl, that meant that I now have an axolotl. And that led to 2 axolotls. And because what happened was I had a friend, Decker, who I've talked about before, who had an axolotl. The same thing, his little girl played Minecraft, and she decided she wanted an axolotl. And Decker had it for, I don't know, a year. And he's like, hey, man, this thing is way too much work. Will you take it? And I was like, sure. And it turns out his was a female. And now I have 73 axolotls.
You're like the Dr. Doolittle of axolotls. Well, I wanted to let you know there are a couple ways you could offload these. Wait, one, we should let all the listeners know that you put a pin in it, because 2 months from now, there may be an opportunity for you to own your very own axolotl. I have suggested that to increase the demand amongst our listeners that you would sign each one before you sent it out. But you said that's probably not healthy. So we'll figure it out. But 2 months from now, 1159 is going to have an axolotl sale, and all proceeds will go toward whatever the VA doesn't cover for Kent's counseling or Mo's college scholarship. How about that? Sound good?
And it's probably, I mean, it's 2 months away, so we'll worry about more. But like, it would not be cheap to ship these things.
No.
They have to, I mean, shipping is the box that they're shipped in has to be insulated, and it has to have ice packs because they only live in cold water. So it's like, but yeah.
But have you ever gone to like a school event or like some event and they're like raising money for kids to go to camp or something, and you're like $11 for a bag of caramel popcorn, and then in your head you're like, but it's for the kids, and so you buy it? That's what this will be. Is we'll be like, it's $20 for an axolotl. It's also $20 for the shipping, and people will be like, but it's for Mo. So that, leave leave the manipulation of our audience to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I
And
just worry, by the time they're ready to ship, I'm going to have a lot of time and a lot of money into these things. And I don't want them to go I don't want somebody to, I just want them to go to people that'll take care of them.
Okay, but I
that's
thought
ready
that
for the
through, too.
responsibility.
I'm worried about 2 months from now for you for a couple reasons. One, you might have more time on your hands than you think, because between now and then we will have put out Tolkien Black Friend. So you might have more time on your hands than you ever wanted. And you may be looking for a stream of revenue. So I want to let you know that, yes, I agree. They should go to homes where people care. Also, though, I wanted to let you know, if you can find 1 or 2 Japanese restaurants in your area, Japanese restaurants will gladly take axolotls because
Absolutely
it's a delicacy.
not.
I'm just putting it out
Japanese eat them.
That's what I'm saying.
That is not me being racist. That is a fact. Axolotls are a delicacy. They eat them in Japan. So
yeah, but they're high valued. It's like, have you ever seen the show where some dude catches a huge tuna, they bring it to port, and some chef is there, or some owner of a restaurant, he's like, I'll pay you $1 million for that one tuna. They know their stuff. So what I'm saying is, you have a glut of axolotls. After trying to sell as many off as you can, bundle them up, ship them off. Another option would be, we do just a quick video channel on YouTube called Will It Blend?
Okay,
And
so I'm going to pretend like you didn't say that, but I want to I want to nerd out on you for just a minute. There's axolotls. One of the reasons they're so cool in labs, and one of the reasons scientists are so interested in them, is not just because of their what we can maybe do in the future with humans with them, because as I said, they're studying limb regeneration and their ability to withstand certain diseases. And what another thing scientists are interested in is being able to manipulate them to be born with certain traits. And there's and this type of axolotl only exists in a lab. It doesn't occur in nature. It's called a firefly axolotl, and look at how cool this is. Let me show you.
For the listeners, Chase is going to describe what we see on the screen.
Yeah, Chase will
when Kent shares his screen with us. If you're wondering, while Kent is pulling this up, what in the heck? How does anybody ever see this? Well, guess what? Right now, there's 7 people seeing it because they have joined 1159plus.com. They are accessing us through our back door. Come on in our back door. Whoa. Okay.
So this is a firefly axolotl, and this is made in a lab.
What?
Through gene manipulation. And the back end, the tail behind from the back legs back, the tail glows under a black light.
Chase has to explain this.
I sounded a lot like Kent right there.
You did. Good job, Chase. What's happening?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Like that.
Describe what you're seeing, Chase.
So there's a gray axolotl, and it looks like it's pooping out a lightsaber out of its butt.
Yeah.
Exactly. Holy cow. Look at that. Can you buy these?
Electric blue, green,
you wouldn't want
lightsaber poop.
You're talking about several thousands of dollars for one of those guys.
Yeah, but you buy one and you turn on some Barry White.
Not necessarily. Remember, we were talking about grandparents.
Turn on Barry White twice, and then the second generation is just a bunch of LED lights. I'm just throwing it out there. That is amazing. So I don't understand. So they took an axolotl and somehow they figured out how to make half of it up. Now is that bioluminescence, or is that a response to its environment? That's got to be bioluminescence. There's no way that.
Yes.
Because there's a difference. There are some animals where when you shine light at them, they reflect the light in a certain way, so it looks chromatic, but this is the animal itself generating light.
Isn't it cool?
That's unbelievable.
That's why it's called a firefly axolotl, because it looks like a lightning bug.
Wouldn't it be funny to find out that it can't talk or anything, but what they invented, that axolotl has just eternal, like, flaming IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, or something where we don't know what we did, but that is just it lives a life of torture.
What if
Like a Metallica song?
Scientists act like they've like ruined Earth? They look at it and start shitting everywhere. They're like, my God, what have we done?
What have we done?
We were too busy asking if we could to stop and think if we should. There's shit
But then
everywhere.
Then they find out they can't just kill them off, because what they didn't know too was all those axolotls are born Jewish. No one's touching that. You can't get rid of them. That's another Holocaust. And suddenly we got a real problem do we have a problem on our hands? No, I would say racially we don't. We've discovered how to, one, create a lighted animal, and two, an animal that possesses the Jewish faith. That's a powerful message.
I don't know that all the axolotls that I hatched are Jewish. I would say they're probably more agnostic. Some of them have that atheist look in their little eyes.
Yeah. Well, they have agency. They can choose whichever path they want to go, and that's beautiful. Or will it blend? I'll just throw this out there again. Will it blend?
I'm going to get little fedoras for the pink ones.
So I just wanted to tell you really quick. So that's Kentucky triage. We had 80s elementary school triage when I lived in Issaquah, Washington, where nobody told the teacher that, hey, maybe you shouldn't have a piranha as the pet, as the classroom pet. Because it doesn't matter how many times you tell the class, no one put your finger in the tank. There's always Reggie.
Yeah, and it's always that kid that has a Pantera shirt on.
That kid put his hand in the whole hand in the tank, and we didn't see him for 3 days because he had to go home.
Did it actually mess him up?
Yeah, it did. It actually messed it. It just grabbed onto his finger and just wah, 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 wah. And it's kind of a blur. I'd like to say I could see bone, but I'm not sure. But we didn't see him for 3 days, and then he came back, and also the piranha was gone.
I would love to get a few piranhas, but the fact of the matter is I don't want 250 piranhas.
Nature finds a way. So let me give you a little math here. 72 axolotls plus one piranha equals one piranha.
That's true. That's 100% true. But the axolotls are too cute to use as feeders.
Plausible deniability. That's what I'm trying to give you here. You know, it's like you could have your own, like, contained version. Let's call it canned parenthood. Like you've created a box and you control who lives and dies in that box. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, you're making it super weird. Yeah.
I'm just trying to give you options here.
Yeah, you're just going at it from like the playing God.
No, I'm going at it as...
To be fair, is like maybe what I was doing when I was like, maybe I can build a pond in my backyard. And
I just leaned a little more Darwinian than you did. That's all.
I'm trying to put Kentucky on the map for something that isn't meth and inbreeding. It's like, yeah, they've got meth and inbreeding, but they also have natural occurring axolotls.
Right. Yeah, but what you don't know is it's going to turn out putting Kentucky on the map like those cities in South America where all the Nazi doctors secreted away and have like the whole town now is redheaded twins with blue eyes. And we're like, oh, I wonder how that happened. Oh,
and how much
killed all the Nazis.
Here's the thing. If we're talking about property value, how much would that improve the value of my property if my property had the only place where axolotls exist in the wild?
I don't want to get too far ahead of my skis here, but I want you to know that the domain name axolotlaboutaxolotls.com is no longer available.
Did you just
I'm
buy
just saying,
it?
axolotlaboutaxolotls.com. Here's the problem with that. I've already haunted myself knowing that that's like extraterrestrials. No one's going to be able to figure out how I spelled it. You could just do axolotls about axolotl. That doesn't ring. So, hate it when I spend money on an idea that's ham-fisted.
Mo has a little T-shirt that has an axolotl on it that says, "I axolotl questions."
Oh my gosh, that's adorable. Also, she doesn't. She's a very quiet child.
She is, yeah. Yeah.
I'm not saying your daughter's a
Shirt's fucking
liar.
bullshit.
Yeah. This is...
Hey, you want to do
Anyway.
the show?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Would you? He can't.
It's actually ironic that we talked about what we talked about with, gene manipulation and mutations and stuff. Because what I brought today was actually spurred what I thought, that'd be fun to do a show on that. I watched X-Men Origins yesterday, which a lot of people hate. The comic book nerds hate that movie because that's the one where they took Deadpool and tried to make him gritty and like not the Deadpool that we know now and love.
Wait, they tried to make him gritty instead of the one that we know and love?
So X-Men Origins is the first live-action movie that had Deadpool in it. Fun fact.
It's sort of monster-ish.
Also played by Ryan Reynolds. Deadpool in that one. And it's actually in the new Deadpool movies, the Deadpool that we now know and love, he makes fun of that original, of like the first time they tried Deadpool.
Really?
Yeah, because they're like, you know how Hollywood is. They take something that's perfect and they're like, we got to make it like serious and scary and gritty. So like what they did in X-Men Origins is they took the character of Deadpool and took away his mouth. They sewed his mouth shut, literally.
Oh, I remember this now. Yeah, he was creepy.
Yeah, and the best part of Deadpool is his one-liners in comedy. That's like the best part of Deadpool. And everybody hated it. Everybody hated it. And that's why they redid it and made Deadpool from the comics and recast Ryan Reynolds. Because can you imagine Deadpool being played by anybody other than Ryan Reynolds? Honestly.
No. Except for whoever was originally the actual Deadpool. Maybe
there wasn't an original Deadpool. Deadpool was a comic made by Rob Liefeld, I believe is his name. And that was the first time it had ever been put on the big screen in live action.
Funny thing, I'll bet you at one point, someone in history said axolotls don't exist. I'm just putting. So maybe we're both right.
Okay.
So anyway, you were saying that.
All I'm saying is X-Men Origins, the Deadpool controversy aside, good movie. Good movie. I like it. I think it's a good movie. I agree that they completely fucked Deadpool up in that movie and made it awful. And Ryan Reynolds would even agree. That's not the Deadpool that Ryan Reynolds wanted from the beginning. But what it got me thinking is like mutants. And I think that if we as humans existed in a more wild environment, if we were still like scavenging for our food, and I think that over a long enough period of time, we would probably have mutants, right? There would be evolutionary traits that certain people would get that in early on would be considered mutants. But because we now live this kind of cushy life where we're exercising by looking at a fucking screen mounted to a wall and pulling on ropes while some asshole goes, and 3 and 4 and 5, and people like you use it one time and spend $5,000 and then never touch it again. I think that humans have probably evolved as much as they're going to physically. But the idea of a human mutant is technically feasible. Now, maybe not to the extent that X-Men would like us to think. Nobody's going to be shooting lasers out of their eyeballs or be able to have retractable metal adamantium claws come out of their hands. But small little things can technically be what would be considered mutants, mutations that are abnormal that give people quote unquote powers, right?
Right.
So I wanted to look into real life mutants today that exist.
That's fun.
Or have
Okay.
existed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the name of the person. I've got a few here, and give you their power, and then go into it. And then I've tagged them with a superhero name.
Okay. That should be fun.
The first one we're covering is a little fella by the name of Liam Hoekstra. And he had the power of super baby strength.
You're going to have to clarify.
Well, Liam has a rare genetic condition that makes his body block the protein myostatin. And myostatin is the protein that we have in our bodies that kind of keeps muscle growth in check.
Oh, it's the same one that they let loose on that one bull that like overdeveloped. You've seen pictures of that bull?
Yeah.
Right?
And it's just so muscular that it's almost a disability.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Because that's what Liam Hoekstra has. And like you just said, people and animals with this deficiency, they tend to have huge muscles and very, very little body fat. So we all have a protein in our body called myostatin, and that's what keeps our muscles in check from just getting ridiculous. So he was a super strong little baby, and he was able to do little baby feats of strength from the time he could walk. A ripped little fella. The only downside to this is that he has to eat more than other people to keep up with his body. So they really have to pound a lot of calories every day, and he will for the rest of his life.
Oh, man.
It's Liam Hoekstra, super baby. I have given him the superhero name of Ben.
Of what?
Ben.
Just Ben?
Yeah.
I just Googled this. I just Googled Liam Hoekstra now. World's strongest toddler, dubbed the Mini Hulk. He plays hockey now. Looks like it. I don't know.
Plays hockey.
He doesn't look that big now.
Yeah, well, they have medications and everything
they're trying to keep it in check.
Keep it in check, yeah. But if you look at pictures of when he was little, I mean, yes.
No, he's a unit. Wow. I think you have to put absolute before you say unit. Otherwise, it just sounds like you're talking about a child in like a inappropriate way.
Yeah.
He's an absolute unit there.
That's Ben.
Crazy.
The second person we're talking about. A man by the name of Michael Lotito. Michael Lotito.
Lotito is Spanish for small Tito.
That's
yeah, I think that's right.
So yeah. Look, Michael Lotito can eat pretty much anything. Now, he was a French entertainer in France known as Monsieur Mangatout, which stands in French for Mr. Eats All. And throughout his career, Michael consumed all manners of non-consumable objects, glass, rubber, metal, which he would usually chase with mineral oil. And here's the craziest thing about Michael Lotito's life. He consumed, this is true, an entire Cessna 150 airplane, which he ate in small bits over the course of 2 years. This is true, 100% true. Not making this up. Over the span of 2 years, he ate an entire Cessna 150 airplane.
Whoa. I don't know how to respond to that. Like, I don't know. I feel a little like when my daughters come in the room, they're like, "You ready for our show?" And then there's no show and they're inventing it as they go. And I'm like, wow, that's useless. Why would he?
Just to show off his iron stomach, I guess. But where my mind goes when I hear about this guy eating an entire Cessna 150 airplane over the course of 2 years, little bits at a time, is what this guy. I mean, I can eat Taco Bell, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, gotta go to the bathroom after 20. Like, what does this guy's shits look like? Does it look like you just, that old like bucket that every old man has in his garage that's full of nuts and bolts? Does it just look like you spilled that bucket into the toilet whenever you? And what kind of like damage does this guy's shits do on the septic tank?
I just can't imagine metal making it all the way through your intestines without just kind of trying to find its way out of your intestines as it goes.
Or does he just shit in 5-gallon buckets and then take it to the scrapyard?
He might. Sells it as a supplement, like chelated metal, because I don't know.
Now, Michael Lotito suffered from a rare condition known as pica, which caused him to have an appetite for non-consumable objects like dirt, rocks, and metal. And I think
simple
that
name.
pica might be a common thing with pregnant women as well. Like you'll hear women, I'm pregnant, when they're pregnant, they're like, I crave baby powder or drywall, or like,
yeah,
they get some odd cravings when. He also had an abnormally thick lining in his stomach and intestines.
There you go. That's what I was waiting to hear. Like, I could start trying to eat a propeller and then I would die.
Yeah, like most of us.
Yeah.
And Michael Lotito actually died in 2007. So at the age of 57,
from
natural causes, it says.
No way.
Yeah.
Wait, when? What year?
2007.
I was hoping it was like in the 2020s. We could say it was COVID. 2007. He probably died from the real estate collapse.
But maybe. Yeah. Or he bought 2 axolotls and a year later killed himself. Michael Lotito's superhero name, Rotgut.
I like that one. That's good.
Next up, we have Mary Lou Henner, who had the power of super memory. Now, if you hear Mary Lou Henner and you're like, I feel like I've heard that name before, you probably have, because she's actually an actress who played a notable character on the 1970s TV sitcom Taxi.
Oh yeah, the redheaded gal.
Yeah.
Like she had a what do you call that? A photographic memory?
She did. Mary Lou Henner, the redheaded gal. Yes. Yes. And she's famous not just because of her role in Taxi and her acting abilities. She has a condition known as hyperthymesia, or the ability to recall every single tiny stupid detail from her life going back decades. And what this means, every detail. She can remember everything. Wow. She doesn't forget anything. And when I hear this, I think, imagine dating this lady.
Oh my gosh.
You get into an argument. And she's like, yeah, well, yeah. Does that upset you? Remember that time you left the toilet seat down on October 9th, 1991 at 7:13 p.m.? You remember that?
That would be so hard to like navigate that relationship. No, you know what? Okay, I take it back. You know what that would do? it would cause you to become very honest.
Yeah,
It would compel you to work on being honest.
because you're not going to slide anything past Mary Lou.
Yeah, wow. Did she stop acting? Did she stop acting?
Let's see here. I can tell you.
She probably remembers.
She acted all the way up.
Ding.
She was in The Mimic in 2020.
Really?
Oh, wait. No, that was
Huh.
as a... Oh, yeah, she was in The Mimic. Yeah. In 2020, she was in Man on the Moon. Well, she played herself in that because Andy Kaufman was...
Right. Andy Kaufman. I was going to say, because he was on Taxi too.
But as recently, she was in the NCIS in 2023. No, she hasn't stopped acting at all. She's been in fucking everything, both television and film.
I also keep thinking about Mary Lou Retton. You know who that is, right?
Yeah, the skier.
She was a gymnast. She was the award-winning gymnast.
I just took a shot in the dark there.
Like, she was on Wheaties boxes. She also was a gymnast.
There are only 25 confirmed cases of hyperthymesia in the world. She says when they ask her how she sees things in her head, like how do the memories work? She says, quote, they seem like little videos moving simultaneously. When somebody gives me a date or a year or something, I see all these little movie montages basically on a time continuum, and I'm scrolling through them and flashing through them.
Dang.
Yeah.
That'd be, I would have to stop talking because my head's already full of information. Plus I'm also full of information that I open my mouth and I say is true, but we're having another Mount Shasta moment. Could you imagine if I had perfect recall? Oh my gosh. How does she ever not just like
Lose her mind?
Yeah, like I would be all the time. I'd be like, 1983, August 12th, and postage stamps for this much. I don't remember Bob Dole said this, and
Or constantly having to be like in any conversation with anybody that you've known longer than 10 minutes, being like, no, you didn't.
just constantly shutting people down.
Not true.
Oh.
I think you're remembering that wrong. That's not what happened. That's not what he said. Because of Mary Lou Henner's incredible ability to remember everything, I have tagged her with the X-Men name, Dr. Really Good Memory.
Okay. So stupid.
It's a better name than Ben.
It's true. But you also came up with that one, so I guess we are where we're at.
Next up, we have Javier Botet, who has the incredible ability to be super flexible and bendy and creepy. And I'm not making that up. If the name Javier Botet sounds familiar to you, that's probably because you've almost definitely seen some of his work. He's also an actor, and he mainly plays horrifying creatures.
Oh, he's the one that like flops on the floor and then turns upside down
That's him.
and
That's
walks
Javier.
toward you.
If you've seen the movie, and I've talked about this movie several times, from 2017. I know it was older than that. I think the movie Mama, about the ghost that.
Oh yeah, Mama, right.
I love that movie so much. A lot of really disturbing imagery in that, and the ghost Mama herself in that is like nightmare inducing. Mama was played by Javier Botet. And here's a fun fact about Mama. Very, very little CGI was used in that movie.
Really?
So the creepiness that you see in it is all Javier.
Is all. Oh.
Now,
So he plays a woman in that. He
Yeah.
plays a bendy woman. Okay.
he also plays the creature at the end. So that's Javier right there. Yeah, Jess doesn't even like
Hold
looking
on.
at a picture.
Oh my gosh. So he's that creepy. Oh wow. They made him into that creepy lady.
Yeah, very little CGI in that movie. Everything, which makes it scarier because what you're seeing on screen is not CGI.
Whoa. I really liked him in No Town for Old Men.
No Town, No Country for Old Men?
Yeah.
That's not the same guy. Moving on. He also played the emaciated creature at the end of the Spanish horror movie Rec, R-E-C. He was in the 2017 remake of The Mummy, and he played Slender Man movie in the 2018 movie. He played Slender Man in the 2018 movie Slender Man.
Okay, can I just pause for a second on that one? I love the whole Slender Man concept. I love everything it's done for like our culture. I think it's wild. You know, they've got the girls that tried to kill a girl.
I actually considered doing a TCK on that case. The Slender Man murders.
That would be great.
Murder.
Also, can I just make a plea to all of the A-list directors and producers that listen to this show? Can somebody please make a Slender Man movie that's good?
And R-rated?
So much. Yeah, it's got so much potential.
It does.
But they keep making stupid versions of it. It's like the world needs a good Atlas Shrugged movie. But no, it just keeps being redone by like C-level actors and Come on.
They keep trying to like Deadpool it the first time around Deadpool it.
Yeah, but they keep repeating that. They're not turning it into what it could.
I'll tell you what I'm sick of. I'm fucking sick of PG-13 horror movies.
I have to agree. Here's the challenge. Here's the thing. I will say the caveat is this. When my reflex is when I see a horror movie that is PG-13, I go, this thing is either so watered down it's going to be boring as crap, or the storyline in this is off the chain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, like Mama, I'm pretty sure is PG-13. It's so good.
So I'm constantly like duped by PG-13 horror movies where I'm like, it could be a good storyline, so I'll watch part of it. I'm like, nope, it's not. It's just super stupid.
What I think when I see a horror movie that is rated PG-13 is mediocre. This is probably because what they're trying to do is like they're trying to make a movie that teenagers can go watch. Like 13 and 14-year-olds. It's like, if this is going to scare a 13-year-old, I'm probably not going to like it.
Yeah, and it's never going to work.
Now, back to Javier Botet. He has a genetic condition, pretty common condition, actually, called Marfan syndrome. And that affects the connective tissue throughout your body. And people with Marfan syndrome, they're usually super tall and they have abnormally long limbs and fingers. And they're super flexible. But Javier kind of has an extreme version of it that allows him to be these things, you know, and be stretchy and flexible and like.
Could you imagine this? You go to one of those like crazy Chinese acrobat shows, you know, where they're all spinning plates and they're bent over forward and their face is staring at you, but also their feet are staring at you. You know, those shows?
Yeah.
And like plates are spinning all over and everything's crazy. It's like, how do they do all this? And then suddenly this like 11-foot gangly Chinese woman just like comes out on the stage and everybody's like, ah! And then she just like does this like contortion act in the back. It's got this like giant onesie on her, you know, like the same uniform as everybody else, but they had to like manufacture it. She's just back there, and like she bends over and like her legs are like halfway over all the audience, and everybody's freaked out, but we're also like really impressed. She does, instead of plate spinning, she spins above ground pools.
Who can afford that?
Chinese can. I don't know if you watched the opener for the Chinese Olympics. It went from, oh man, that's a lot of coordination. Holy cow, that's a lot of people. This is creepy. I don't
You
know
talking
if you
about with the
remember it
drum?
going.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then it was like, that's a lot of people who got whipped to be
Oh, for
this
sure. Yeah.
coordinated.
They've actually been those people were actually born in labs. They've been planning that show for 28 years.
If you failed during that show, you and your family disappeared.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Now, because
Wow.
of Javier Botet's flexible and bendy and creepy body, I tagged him with the X-Men super name, Old Stretch Nuts.
Which took him in a whole new direction with his career.
The final person on my mutant list is one you're probably going to recognize also. His name is Ozzy Osbourne.
What?
Ozzy Osbourne was gifted with the super mutant ability to fucking party. And I know this sounds like a joke, but it's not. Because back in 2010, Ozzy Osbourne had his genome sequenced, and researchers discovered that Ozzy Osbourne has several gene variants that have never been seen before. And those gene variants were found in regions of the genome associated with alcoholism and how the body absorbs methamphetamine and recreational drugs. Ozzy Osbourne literally is a mutant because he has the superpower to party.
That's amazing. He sounds like Joe Biden when he talks, but what you're saying is you can't knock him over.
You can't knock him over with narcotics, with meth, because he literally has genes that have he was built for meth and drugs because his body is literally on a genetic level built to handle drugs, alcohol, and booze.
That's amazing.
And because of Ozzy Osbourne's uncanny ability to be a fucking rock star, I have tagged him with the superhero name Narcotosaurus Rex. And I also kind of tagged him with that because he walks like a T-Rex a little bit, where his arms are always
kind of got
he's always
floppy.
like, oh, Sharon, Sharon.
Wow, those are if you want to know more about some of the people that Kent's talked about, and I think some other ones, there was actually a TV series, and it was produced by the guy who created the Marvel series, named Old Man Sketchbook. What was his name?
Stan Lee.
Stan Lee. So the TV series where Stan Lee did the TV series, but the host of the show is this like really bendy dude, and he travels around the world and he finds all these crazy people that have superpowers like magnetism and things. Check it out. Can absorb massive amounts of electricity and stuff like that. And they're all, so the TV series is cool because they like take the person, they're like, yeah, this is BS. But then they're like, let's go to the doctor. Let's go to the doctor. Let's have him test you. And they're like, all right.
Yeah.
And they go to the doctor and like, wow, you do cry diamonds from your tear ducts.
Which is the thing.
It can be. So check out the TV series. It's called Old Man Sketchbook
By Stan Lee.
Stanley. I don't remember the name of it, but you can find it. It's easy.
I'd fuck Ryan Reynolds probably.
I would, but I'd do it for a different reason. I would do it for the pillow talk afterward, where I'd be like, hypothetically, if you were to invest in something, like what would it be? And I'd get him like really talking, and I'd either get some good business ideas from him, or he would be like, "What do you do again?" I'd be like, "Oh, it's just I have a podcast." You have a one podcast and you do this well. He's like, "You're blindingly successful." I'd be like, "No, well, there's like a lot of them, but
And
you
then
know,
he'd
it's just a
hear-
little." Wake up! You were telling me about your company. I'm like, "Yeah, right. Oh yeah."
He was like, "Well, I
And
was
then we
going to
both-
invest, but
You fell
then before you
asleep.
get that out, you fell asleep again."
It'll be a crazy night of climax.
Then he's
and
like, "How am I going to get back down from
conversation.
this mountain?"
Oh man. Well, here's what's crazy is you said something where I'm about to ruin your assumptions on something.
Okay.
You know how you said that people can't have lights that shoot out of their eyes
Yes.
or lasers or something like that?
Yeah. And I stand by that.
Well, hold on to your seatbelts.
Okay.
You think that after centuries of studying light, you'd think that we'd know pretty much everything about it. It's true. Like we've had breakthroughs after breakthroughs and using it from illumination to communication. BTW, did you know that most likely the signals that are being communicated on the internet from the way we're connecting right now, there's probably a copper wire or something in our house and it's pushing the signal to, but somewhere near each one of us, there's a green box sitting on a corner, either our neighborhood or a street near us. And that box is called a junction box. And inside the junction box, those electrical signals are converted to light and they are transmitted by fiber optic cable. So everything we're doing right now is actually being communicated through beams of light. Fun fact to know and share.
Cool.
We've done all that. You know, we know how light works, from lighting stuff up to communicating. We've examined the micro and the macro universes. We scan our own bodies with it. Magnetic resonance imaging, you might have heard of that, MRIs. We know that light's an electromagnetic wave. That dude, James Clerk Maxwell, back in the 1860s, figured that out. Also appears quantum packets of electromagnetic energy called photons, or something that we figured out because of good old Albert Einstein, 1905. Some cutting edge stuff, but here's a couple things that we just discovered about light. We just figured this out. We just figured it out. Did you know that the magical invisibility rings and cloaks that are featured in like fantasy stories reflect the ancient human,
the invisibility cloak,
and there've been the desire to be invisible by these things. It's like been there forever. We ancient stories talk about our ability. Wouldn't that be great if we could just be invisible, Bill, like that? Shows up in science fiction. You got Star Trek. Hostile Romulan spacecraft conceals itself with the cloaking device.
I actually feel like I've read an article about a company that built one that just has cameras in the back, and all it essentially does is transmits the image behind you onto little lenses or little screens, basically like a million little screens in front of you. And they do exist.
Oh. Well, that's what I brought. What Kent just said. So, this has been Neverdaily show because can't ruin my thing. Just kidding. I got some stuff that he didn't
I'm
say
sorry, I didn't know. I didn't know this about you.
So, picking up where I left off before Kent decided to take my script and do an episode of Will It Blend? The Romulan spacecraft uses an idea from relativity. I hate this moment. Uses an idea from relativity. I wrote this out and I had crafted this idea from relativity, strongly distorted space-time, making light curve around the spacecraft as if it didn't exist. What Kent said about cameras basically projecting what's behind whatever object. Physicists don't know how to do the Romulan thing yet, but the classical optics of light waves and light rays, they give us another solution. So we see an object as it interacts with incoming light, right? Light hits your eye and that's our reality. In principle, an invisibility cloak could intercept those incoming rays, bend or refract the light into itself so they travel inside the cloak and then emerge along original paths behind the object, right? Anyway, basically, we tested this out in 2006 with a rigid, what they call a meta material cloak. It was a hollow cylinder whose wall held thousands of small structures that made microwaves traverse suitable paths within the wall, placed around an opaque metal object, couldn't see through it. The cloak made the object nearly completely vanish under microwave radiation. So visibly, this isn't something where you'd see it disappear visibly, but under microwaves, it disappeared. Okay. You know the phenomena when you put a frozen burrito in the microwave, and most of the time it microwaves it, but there's like one time where you set it to like 2 minutes, it finishes and you go in and it's still an ice cube. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the ability for microwaves to avoid an object altogether. So we've made small inanimate objects like a fish and a cat and a hand, which isn't an inanimate. None of those are inanimate objects. But we've made them disappear under ordinary visible light, actually. So somebody not too long ago developed a flexible cloak that wraps around a small object to make it vanish. But it's only at one wavelength so far. So meaning it's only under a certain light wave. So our eyes are picking up all kinds of stuff. If you don't know what light wavelength is, look at a rainbow from like a prism or even a rainbow in the sky. Those are different light wavelengths. Each color is a different. Anyway, that's super boring, but we're getting really close to Harry Potter's cloak, is what I meant.
Okay.
Here's another one that's crazy. Now, this one's closer to superhuman stuff like you were talking about. We have figured out, like thrown rocks, photons carry momentum that they transfer to an object on impact. So radiation pressure is why sunlight pushes comets' tails away from the sun. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but if you look at a comet from our view, we're like, oh, look at that comet tail. But if you look at it from like above its trajectory and you look at the way the sun is hitting that from the side, the comet tail bends away from the sun. It pushes it away. Also, that's why it can propel a spacecraft. That's why light can propel a spacecraft in space. And we're building 2010, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, short for long version of JAXA, launched the Icarus interplanetary kite craft accelerated by radiation of the sun craft.
Do you really want to name something that's supposed to fly Icarus? Out of all things.
That's what I was going to say.
Out of all the things.
Melts and burns up, falls out of the sky. I agree with you. But this thing's kind of crazy. It's thin. It's also the size of a tennis court. And it's a giant polymer sail. And they put it out there and it gathers solar photons, which collectively, each one exerts just a little tiny force. But all of the photons together pushing on this giant sail steadily accelerated the Icarus. 6 months, 300 million miles later, it arrived on target near Venus without any fuel or propulsion.
It's cool. But what does it do when it gets
right?
there?
It's a kite. It's basically a kite for the people of Venus to see, and they have a message on it. They chose for a message about something about axolotl delicacy. I'm not sure.
It's probably a car
But they also
warranty.
found that whatever spacecraft crashed on Venus last, they're like reminding that its warranty's expired. Remarkably, though, a light source can also, get this, pull an object toward itself against the direction that the light propagates. So physicists have shown that within a specially shaped laser beam, the forward push of photons on a particle is dominated by a backward force due to the particle's own electromagnetic response. So basically what this means is we've created a superpower where imagine if you pushed against an object and it took the exertion that you pushed against it and it pushed back that same amount of exertion, like against you.
Okay.
Best way to describe this is, did you ever make that stuff in elementary school that was like a liquid, but when you pushed on it, it got hard?
Newtonian fluid.
You're right, exactly. Similar to that, but now take that and put it into light.
Yeah.
So light can actually tractor beam. This is a tractor beam. We're making a tractor beam. They can use a low power laser now and pull a comparatively big microscopic object like a tractor beam. Here's another one. This one's crazy. Suppose you want to form an image of something like let's say a living cell that could be changed or harmed by the light energy that illuminates it. This is called ghost imaging. It uses a phenomenon of photon entanglement to produce an excellent image of a barely illuminated object. So basically, it can see in the dark. It can see in the dark. Because we can't see photons when there's not enough of them. But this thing can pick it up. And so we can literally have high resolution pictures of things that are in the dark, completely in the dark. That's really good. I don't really know what that's good for. There's one here that I have about quantum slits, but I'm not going to talk about it because it kind of gets you, I don't know, horny. How about this one though? Yeah, quantum slits.
Is that about alien pussies?
I'm not. I'll let you Google it yourself. Don't Google image it.
Jess is talking on the phone right now. I wonder if she can.
She's been on the phone for a while.
I wonder if she can hear us.
I think it's a collection agency.
If she can hear us, it would be funny to, like, let's just start talking about the most grotesque, graphic stuff. Because, yeah, she can hear us. She's smiling while she's.
Let's all just keep saying the word quantum slits.
She got off the phone.
Okay, fine. Okay, here's one for you. Will I wrap it up with this one? I'm going to wrap it up with this one. If there is one physics fact that people know, it's that light is the fastest thing in the universe, right? It travels about 186,000 miles per second in a vacuum. So get everything out of its way and it can go 186,000 miles per second. The speed is reduced somewhat when light interacts with ordinary matter. So dropping, for instance, light moves to 124,000 miles per second in optical fiber or like I was saying, like fiber optics. So when I talk right now, the fiber optic cable that's transmitting this to some internet service provider and then into your earballs is moving at 124,000 miles per second. So that's still fast enough to circle the Earth in a fraction of a second. So this was really big news in 1999 when Harvard researcher Lin Hao enormously slowed light to the human scale speed of 38 miles per hour.
What is the benefit of that?
He could slow light down to 38 miles per hour.
What is the benefit of that?
You could outrun it if you were a healthy cyclist on a bicycle. You could possibly outrun light. And that's the only reason for it.
What is the benefit of that?
So I'll tell you. So this was accomplished in an exotic medium, similar to an axolotl cage. A dense gas of sodium atoms cooled to nearly absolute zero. So we're almost zero temperature. They call it the Bose-Einstein condensate. Light interacts with this more strongly than with any other medium. And so it was hugely slowed down, meaning that this super cooled sodium gas is like the bouncer at the light club. And the light that wants to get in it, the bouncer's like, no. And so the light just stays there at the door, like showing them fake ID after fake ID. And then finally, after a while, the bouncer's like, fine, come on in. But then the club itself is so clogged with other sodium atoms that are partying that the light is like, excuse me. I just want to get a ginger ale. Excuse me. So it's trying to make its way through the club. And it's super slow down from normally at the club, it's moving at 124,000 miles per second. Boots and pants. It's like, give me another drink. Let's dance. And he's like bumping and humping. But at this club, he can't move faster than 38 miles an hour. Okay. Later, Howe topped this experiment by bringing light to a screeching halt. And then he took it from stop and he said, all right, you can continue on. And light's like, okay, thanks. And it just moved on. He stopped light and was like, hold on, just pause, stay right there, light. And it's like, all right. And then he's like, go ahead. Now you can go. So he recovered the light that he had stopped, and then he told it when it could go on its way.
What is the benefit of that?
I don't know, really.
I mean, I guess. What is the benefit of that? I don't. I was thinking like how that would be useful.
Okay, I got an idea. How about this? Synchronizing signals in fiber optic networks to store digital data in computers. So, for example, here's one problem. We run into this problem all the time on this show. Chase has the problem of, oh man, how do I line up all the stupid audio because everything's just like a little bit off, right? Or, all this video is great except for Jess had an internet problem, so she like isn't really here or something. So all of that is due to the fact that light travels. Give it two lengths. Give it from Kentucky to the internet service provider and from my hometown to the internet service provider. Different lengths means different times. So light moves fast, but it's all like two light signals aren't always going to be on time. So this can be used to say, okay, when everything hits the junction, we're just going to have all the horses wait until all the horses are at the line. And then we're going to be like, go. So you could zero out latency, basically, the delay between different signals. You could zero that out. So what that means is when we're at our cult, our cult headquarters, and we are talking to our cult headquarters in France, and the one in space, all of us are like, how are we talking and like everybody's laughing at my jokes right at the same time? Like, how is that possible? Like, how is everybody so dialed in that they're laughing at my jokes at the same time?
Right.
And that's why. Because we controlled light better.
Okay.
Before you know it, it'll be in your Dell laptop.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so exciting. I thought I'd bring it today.
I love you, man.
Love you too. Let's get out of here. Hugs, everybody.
Goodbye.